I look very short.
Gotta.
I think we're about the same height.
Gotta straighten that spine.
I guess so. Where you said she's like,
I'm actually a little higher than you.
I think so because you're sitting on a pillow.
I got it because my butt goes down.
Okay. All right, welcome to our show.
Welcome.
Hello. I'm not on.
You're not on?
No,
Just you're not on.
I don't hear myself. Hello, testing.
Oh yeah, I can hear that.
Okay, will you check that I'm plugged in real quick?
You're plugged in. I think. Yep. 2 and 4 are going up.
Not this guy. Oh, here.
Oh, your headphones. Gotcha.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
My bad.
Loud. Holy cow. Okay.
Nice. So, what's today? Happy Tuesday.
Yes, it's Tuesday.
How have you been?
I've been good. Let me go ahead and start it here, and then we'll start talking.
All right. So, welcome to episode 3 on the If Communities Could Talk podcast. Today, we're talking about Robert Flores Jr., I think. Junior.
Robert Stewart Flores Jr.
Yeah.
To be specific.
So this dude, he was a U of A shooter.
Yes. U of A as in University of Arizona, not University of Alabama, because that's also U of A.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh man,
yeah,
sorry, Alabama.
So U of A in Arizona.
Yeah, so I've actually never heard of this because this was back in 2002.
Yeah.
So obviously it's been a while, but we wanted to cover some topics that were around our community. So we found this one. So I guess we'll start from what we know. We'll kind of sum it up real quick. So,
but I do actually, real quick before we go into that, I do want to say that it is relevant because it's a school shooting, right?
Yeah.
It's a university shooting, not necessarily like a secondary school, like a high school. However, it is relevant because it's like something that happens so much now, unfortunately, and we get an opportunity to kind of dive into the mindset of this person, and we do that because he writes a manifesto that we're going to talk about. And it's kind of interesting. Yeah,
so Robert, he wrote a 22-page manifesto. I honestly thought it was going to be longer, and I honestly thought it was going to be a little more
insightful,
and what's the word I'm looking for? Like more like vindictive.
Yeah,
so
I agree. But I think that his words are still heavy, even though he does use a little bit of humor, which I kind of found interesting, you know?
I mean, yeah, I mean, okay, it's kind of interesting, but it's not kind of interesting because I feel like that person was like already twisted anyway. So.
Yeah, that's true. But I thought that he would be like so like down in the dumps, you know what I mean? And like throw a little joke in there.
I feel like this person on Instagram is like not real.
CB, what does that say?
I don't know. Anyway, well, we're all live on our social media platforms right now, and one person's just not making any sense. We're trying to help you, bud, but you're not really helping us.
Tell us who you are. Tell us a name.
Yeah, tell us who you are. So yeah, he was actually an older student. So he was 41 years old back in 2002, like in college, and nothing's wrong with that. Obviously,
no,
but I think it's a little bit of an outlier because not much older people. I don't know if I'm mistaken. Like I feel like it's younger people who like shoot up schools.
Yeah, I would say so. And then he also talks about how like he was definitely the minority because a lot of people were white in their 20s, female.
Oh yeah.
But let's do like a quick summary before we dive in. What do you think?
All right, cool. So background is that he was in the Army. He was a Gulf War veteran. He was a struggling student, and he felt like he was always discriminated against pretty much his whole life.
Mm-hmm. He was married.
Yeah.
he was married and he lived somewhere else. Was it Texas?
Yeah.
And then moved to Arizona, and he also worked as an LPN, so a licensed practical nurse, and he had parents that actually had separated also, so he had like that type of like upbringing where his parents were not necessarily the best parents. They were pretty distant, and like not only distant in parenting, like didn't show a lot of affection, but also distant in like they separated and then they didn't really talk to each other very much. Like his family didn't have a lot of family reunions, and like they didn't congregate a lot like certain families do.
Yeah, his whole family was just distant, and I could kind of relate to that, because it kind of throws your psyche off a little bit when you're growing up, just because you feel quite lonely.
Yeah, I was. And he also, what was interesting to me was that he mentioned how he didn't realize that families actually get together, not until he was married and he had exposure to a different family. So that was interesting too. And I wonder if that has anything to do with, maybe his mindset.
Yeah, it could have maybe like triggered less empathy,
maybe,
and like connections to like other people. Maybe
that's an interesting idea. Yeah.
But him and his wife got divorced.
Yeah.
So there's that, and that's pretty much him in a nutshell. Honestly, a lot of people did not think he was a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's kind of weird. They never do.
Yeah.
They never really think. I mean, he had like some struggles in school with some of the administrative type of people in the school, some of the teachers or professors and admin people, but it looked like he always was trying. It seemed, at least from his perspective.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Did you want to dive into the manifesto?
Yeah. So let's say real quick. So he went into the school.
Okay. So you want to sum up the shooting?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Go ahead.
Yeah. So he went into the school. He was a student of the U of A nursing program.
Mm-hmm.
He went into the school, and he went into one of the classrooms, and he shot a professor. He shot two professors in one classroom, and then he proceeded to somebody's office and then shot that professor, and then he shot himself.
Yeah. And
he shot himself in front of his peers also. And then after he died, or after this happened, the next day, the news receives this 22-page manifesto, and that's what we want to talk about today.
Yeah, exactly. So we, not to mention, all his victims were women.
Oh, you know what? I realized that, but I didn't actually realize that till now. That's an interesting thing also. So he killed these three female professors, and we're gonna kind of dive into the manifesto right now. Like I said, this is 22 pages. We're probably not going to read the entire thing to you, but we do want to summarize a couple of things, and I want to really just kind of read the beginning because I just think it's interesting. So it says, so he wrote to Miss Amari.
Well, you got to say the manifesto is called Communication from the Dead.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting name. So I feel like he was like, I'm really going to do this then.
Yeah.
Or I'm really going to kill myself.
And it also shows that he had a purpose, and he definitely has a message that he wants to say.
Mm-hmm.
What the message is, I guess we can talk about that later and see if we thought it was effective. But it starts like this. It's addressed to Miss Amari, and it says, "Greeting from the dead. You have received this letter after a rather heinous event. Horrendous event. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't know what forces are compelling me to write this. I do know how it will be taken."
Do not know.
God, I can't read right now. Okay, well, thank God Mary Beth is here, though. Okay, you will read it in this. Okay.
You want me to read?
Wait a second, I can't read. You're stressing me.
I'm just joking.
Okay. Yeah. Will you read it in its entirety, or will you toss it in the circular file? You will.
What does circular file mean? Just
trash
like
can.
a trash. Oh, duh.
Yeah. You will view me as a lunatic or merely a person who just became weary of life. I have thought about this letter for several weeks. Several weeks have passed, and I haven't decided whether to write it and revise it, or do I subscribe to the Jack? Who is this guy?
You know what? I'm gonna look up that. He says the Jack Kerouac.
The Jack Kerouac method and write as the thoughts arrive for a more honest work. Okay, I think I skipped some words there, but that's okay. Maybe I shall do both. So he says, so he goes into talking about who he was. So introductions are in order. I am, or more accurately, was Robert Stewart Flores. Think of me as Bob, as I dislike the formality of Robert. I was born in Los Angeles in 1961. I have 2 older sisters and 1 younger brother. The winds of circumstance and time have scattered my siblings from California to Connecticut. My parents are divorced, have done so just before my 15th birthday. My mother lives in Georgia and has since remarried, and then the father is living alone in California. So he says, there will be people who will attempt to catalog me in a stereotypical manner because it will be easier for them to view me as a serious dysfunctional person rather than a person who has made a rational choice. So that is the part that gets me right there. Because there's nothing rational about deciding to kill your professors and yourself. So he's like saying, like, you're gonna stereotype me, but I am making a rational choice. In his mind, he was very rational, and I think that is a really important thing to hold on to, because, like, I just learned that the way that people classify anxiety and depression, it has to be based on a couple of things. You have a list of criteria, and you must meet at least 4 of the criteria to be classified as an actual primary diagnosis. And what's really interesting is that everybody has stress, and when you have a diagnosis, it's because the stress has come to the point where it's affecting your real daily life situations. So in his mind, at least it seems like to me, with this type of statement that he's saying he's rational, he doesn't realize that he is, like, at the point where he probably is, like, diagnosable for a mental health disorder.
What would that be?
I would say probably depression, right? But he goes into talking a little bit more about like he's unable. Oh, sorry about the pause, guys.
It's Patty. Patty's there.
Oh, hi, Patty.
Yay!
So he goes in and talks a little bit about how, like, he's unable to pay his expenses, any, like, financial thing, like he's behind on his rent, he's behind on all kinds of different bills, and that level of stress doesn't allow, like, he can't do anything more to pay his stuff, and he's in serious debt. And one of the main reasons why people have anxiety is, like, a financial burden. Like, that's, like, one of the things that leads them to have, like, this overwhelming stress that affects their sleep, that affects their relationships, and that is affecting their everyday life. So I think that he has probably diagnosable depression, and I think I wonder that if he would have, like, sought help and recognized it, because he's a smart guy, he's an LPN, he was having trouble in school, but I think that the reason that he was probably having trouble in school is more of a stressed situation, because when you're under a lot of stress, it's very difficult to concentrate. When you owe people money, like, for bills, and you have to,
yeah,
those are a hierarchy of needs.
Yeah, exactly. I was trying to, like, pull up that pyramid. Where,
yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, it's
what
called,
is it called?
I think it's Harlow's hierarchy of needs.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a hierarchy of needs. You need to have certain needs met before you can be like not successful necessarily, but before you can function properly. I think it's
Harlow's what?
Hierarchy of needs. Maybe just type hierarchy of needs. I don't know if it's Harlow. Let's see.
Oh, it was right there. Dang it.
So anyway, so he's saying that he's making a rational choice, first of all. Okay, and he knows people are going to want to read this because he's done this catastrophic thing. Who is it?
It's Harlow. Maslow.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was like, what is the name that's on the tip of my tongue too?
That's like at the top of the list with like Durkheim and stuff. Those are like the top.
Yeah.
I believe I can remember that. But anyway, apparently I can't read right now either.
Oh wait, and before we move on, not sure why he mentioned Jack Kerouac. He's just a novelist of French-Canadian ancestry, and he's known for spontaneous prose of his style of writing.
Oh.
So maybe it's just something that doesn't make sense.
Or maybe emotional, like a emotional dump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a diary.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, go on.
Okay, should I keep reading or do you want to read this piece? Or maybe talk about this piece?
Where are you at? Okay. He's just talking about how his family was not very close, but he didn't blame his parents. He says his parents were I don't know, marginal parents at best. So that means like they were just there. They probably didn't guide him for anything. Probably didn't have him go into any direction of life or anything like that. And that's probably why he entered the army.
Yeah. That kind of reminds me of like the latchkey kids.
Latchkey kids.
Yeah, those are like the kids that they used to call them latchkey kids because they would wear like a piece of yarn with the key for their house because like they would have to fend for themselves. So like they would go to school and then they would go and they would have to open their house and take care of their kids and feed themselves and like they had parents, but it was like during the time the parents, like the Industrial Revolution happened and a lot of people went to work, men and women, and then like the kids were kind of like fending for themselves. It's like the latchkey kid, like the modern latchkey kid is like the kid that's raised by the television.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so I get that sense from him because he said that they were marginal at best, like they were just very distant.
Yeah.
He did say here that it wasn't especially physically or emotional abuse, but it was like just distant.
You know what? I think it came down his family line though, because he does mention his dad's father was an alcoholic, and so like when there's alcoholism in the family, like they kind of like shy away from being intimate with like their children and stuff like that because they're already like feeling ashamed of their problem.
Oh, that could be.
And they just don't know how to get close. So his dad might have gotten some sort of influence from that.
That's an interesting idea. Yeah, it says here his concept of parenting, he's talking about his father, was putting food on the table and it ended there.
Yeah, my gosh.
Yeah, so I think that also having that distance, like how you were saying earlier, I think that's going to affect all of his relationships later on.
Yeah. So, yeah, he talks about his family for a little bit. We'll go down to, we're on page 4, okay, guys?
What we're gonna do too is we'll put we could probably put the manifesto as a link. What do you think?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, we can do that.
It's honestly a very easy read. Yeah. I got through it. I don't know. I probably had distractions when I was getting through it, but it was like 30 minutes tops. Like 30 minutes tops. Like if you're actually reading.
Yeah.
So let's see what else. So he talks about his family. And I think that might have been like a psychological break because that's where he stopped for a bit.
Yeah.
And he was like, should I do this? Or should I not do this? Because in parentheses right after that, he says several weeks later.
Yeah.
So he was thinking about this, thinking about this.
So when I read this, I was like thinking like, does this mean that he had planned to do it? Because there's a piece in the like right before this where he talks about like, how it's the day before he's going to kill himself. But then he doesn't. It's several weeks later.
You know what? Maybe he was just going to commit suicide, but instead he went and killed people.
That might be true. I don't know. I am curious because, yeah, I saw this several weeks later and I was like, what does this actually mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, did something happen that made him, like, feel happy for a bit?
Yeah.
And then he, like, forgot about it? You
yeah.
know? I don't know.
Either that or he just chickened out.
Yeah. And, this the people that commit suicide, I learned this in a training actually a week before last.
Wow.
It was a very good training. It's called First Aid for Mental Health. It's actually from Australia, and it's like I like signed up for it because I thought it was a really interesting topic. But anyway,
That's
so
cool.
yeah, so the people that commit suicide, they actually do not want to kill themselves.
Yeah.
They just want to escape pain.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing is that they get this like elated feeling right before they're going to do it because they have a plan now, and then they feel like when you have a plan, you have that release of pain. So you have like that. So like one of the things that came to my mind was like, did he have like some type of plan and then he felt better and then it was like just weeks later all of a sudden?
Yeah.
Like did he have one of those moments?
Well, he could have just like fantasized it about it like a lot, and like like maybe he got nervous too because he doesn't have a lot of confidence.
Right.
And he was like, well, what if I can't even shoot someone?
Well, he can because he's a military guy.
Well, yeah, but hey, just because you're in the military doesn't mean you're a good shot.
He freezes up when he's
when he freezes up,
exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know. There could have been so many different things of why he took several weeks later, but
I went right into that one. Like he had some type of plan and it made him feel better. Because like when somebody has a plan and you're able to like intervene in that moment where they have a plan and they're at that high point, it's a lot easier to pull them out of that situation where they want to die by suicide.
Yeah.
Okay, so continue.
Let's see. He picks up where. Okay, so he picks up stating this will be his last night on the planet, which is weird. Well, no, it must be the night before he went.
Yeah, because he was writing.
Yeah. I'm not sure why a lot of the stuff he says is not like too important, but I guess every little bit kind of like, makes people discover who he was.
Yeah, I think it can be revealing. He says, he says right here, tonight is my last night on this planet, so I guess I will finish this letter. I went from an A to a B student in high school during my sophomore year to having to take summer school to graduate. And then he talks about how he went into the military and he did 19. And he did well there. He felt like he was. It seemed like he was in a good situation, like he was okay, right? What did you take from that?
It seemed like he was fine, but the thing that wasn't like on his side was oh, okay. Well, we got a request to recap what we're talking about real quick if you just tuned in. So we are talking about Robert Flores Jr. He is the guy who shot up the U of A campus at around 2002, October 2002, so that fall. He killed 3 professors, they're all women, and he was a licensed practitioner nurse. We believe he was under some sort of depression. And
he also killed himself after he killed his professors.
He also killed himself and didn't harm any students.
He didn't harm any students, but then the day after he died, he sent a manifesto to the news, and that's what we're going through right now.
Yeah.
By the way, this manifesto took a while to find.
I'm glad you found it, though.
So we found it.
This is actually the first manifesto I've read. And now that I've read one, I kind of want to keep reading more.
It's interesting.
Not trying to be weird, but like I'm like really interested in the psychology behind this stuff.
Yeah.
So
so we're reading his manifesto. I think we just had somebody else just join. So we're reading the manifesto.
Hi, Nicole!
Manifesto of the U of A nursing school shooter right now that was sent to the mail the day after this happened.
So before you scroll down, it looked like he was trying to attempt to get into some university classes, and for some reason he couldn't attend classes. So I mean, it seems like he's a bright guy because he went and studied on his own, and he managed to collect out of 36 credits, and I think that's a pretty big number.
Yes, it's 22 pages, Patty. Yeah, it's 22-page manifesto. So he talks all about his life. He talks about how he's like a little bit like his home life, which we covered a little bit. And then, so right now he was in school. He went to Germany when he was in the military. Let's kind of skip over some of this other stuff. What do you think?
So he goes into some army talk and tells people what kind of battalions and brigades he was in. So I think what he was doing here is telling people like what he accomplished.
Yeah.
In his army days.
I feel like it was yeah, that's true. I feel like it was really important for him to know, or for the reader to know, that he was not an idiot.
Yeah.
And that he did do things in his life, because he talks about like how hard he worked multiple times, and like how he tried everything he could, and how he sought help in his school stuff because his grades were slipping and whatnot. I think one of the things that's really important and most revealing here.
Sorry about the connection for IG. It'll probably reconnect here in a second. Hopefully.
Why poor connection?
Aliens.
Okay. We had like a little pause there. I'm not sure why we had poor connection, but what I was going to say is one of the things that is really revealing to me, I think, is when he starts to talk about school and some examples of how he was, in my view, like ridiculed for being different in his mind, because he's a minority, he's a male. Pausing. Oh no, I'm not sure why it's pausing.
Oh, they get us, like it's delayed.
Oh, okay.
Like IG lives are a little delayed.
Yeah.
So it's probably unpaused already.
Okay, so he was ridiculed for kind of being different because he was a male in a female-dominated area. He was in his 40s or early 40s, and most of the people were white, female, in their 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So he feels like the professors didn't pay attention to him. Like he talks about how like he would raise his hand multiple times, wouldn't be called on, and then the professor would change the topic and then call on him. And one time he even got so upset that he said like it would be nice if you would answer when I raise my hand, because I have something to give. I have information to give that I think would be good for the class. So he had like those type of situations. So that was one of them. And then the other one was where he went and he actually, he reported a professor saying that the professor was not paying attention to him again. And he kind of got dismissed by the person that he went to for help about this. And the person that he went to for help was Monroe, I believe. Or was it? It was one of the victims, McGrath.
Not too sure, because like you skipped a bunch of stuff.
I know, because I don't feel like a lot of that's relevant.
Let me see. Where are we at?
I don't know if we should go back. I feel like we could just skip.
It was just some other stuff. So like
okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So he ended up in Tucson because his wife came here, so he followed her. I think because she just didn't like Texas, and they ended up getting a divorce. So I think that kind of like got to him as well. And what else was that?
After they got a divorce, he kind of became estranged from his kids too. Like he wasn't seeing his kids very much.
And he had to, pay all that child support.
Which is also one of the financial burdens that he had. Yeah.
He also had like, and like I kind of get it. Because it's kind of hard to like transfer credits when you're trying to get into a university. So I think he was very discouraged that he had a bunch of credits before and he was trying to get into U of A, and he transferred with 110 credits and they would only accept 77. So it just kind of like pushed him back.
Did he say why he killed those people? This is his explanation as to why he killed them, because he was not treated as he thought he should have been, and his explanation is really just this. Like he's giving us like his whole life story of like how he's like pretty much been treated unfair in every way, and like the system has like was against him. How would you say? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's because after he got divorced, it was even more hard to keep money afloat because he kept trying to go back to school. You know. Sorry, your dog wants me.
Luna. So sorry, you can put her down.
Oh, it's fine. She just wants to, lay
I'm gonna
down.
go ahead and just real quick.
But what I think this guy was. Oh, sorry. Well, we're just gonna chat for just 1 second because we gotta do something with our recording. So how you guys doing out there? Let's see. We got 2 people on IG. There's one on YouTube and there's one on Twitch. I'm very suspect if there's anyone on. I haven't said anything.
But they're not.
And they won't be able to say anything.
I can go ahead and start it. Okay.
But one thing I didn't understand with him was that he kind of like had this idea that he could only make a living by getting a college degree or something.
Mm-hmm.
So he kept like digging himself in the hole more and more and more and blaming the academics, saying like, why won't they give me money, or I can't pay for all this stuff. And it's like, dude, like, stop going to school, like, why are you putting yourself through all this? After he got divorced, he got in a really, really bad car accident. It was like a head-on collision, and it ruined his back. And he was really stressed all the time. Like, he could only sleep like 5 hours a night. So that was like on top of like having to pay for school and child support and not having anyone there for him.
He suffered from chronic pain too because of that.
Yeah, and so like he just kept digging himself in a hole, and I was just thinking to myself, like, there's no way I would have like let myself get.
Yeah, he had this idea. It seemed like that once he graduated, he was going to make enough money to pay everything that he had to pay, because when certain things were going wrong and he thought that he wasn't going to be able to continue, he would just like make comments like such as, I cannot survive on an LPN salary. I need the salary that the degree is going to give me. So he had to stay in school, but his grades were slipping because he was under so much stress. And like now, right, he's divorced and he has to pay child support on top of paying for school. And the degree for nursing at the U of A is very rigorous. It mentions that on here that when somebody gets admitted into the college, that they tell them like, hey, it's not a good idea for you to have a job when you're going to our school because it's a lot of rigor. It's a very rigorous program.
Yeah, so everything was just snowballing after that. In his manifesto, he gives a lot of examples of how he thought he was being treated unfairly.
This is the part that I feel is like the most, like, this is the reasons that he was like treated unfairly. I think this is why he did this. There's like all these other factors that it feels like everything is like, going to not good places.
Well, it seemed like he was kind of like a little bit against women as well.
Yeah, I agree. And I didn't really pick up on that as much as like, I didn't pick up on that until like we kind of talked a little bit about it.
Well, he had, his parents split. His wife left him. He was in the army. He was probably not around a lot of girls at all.
He's in a female-dominated profession.
And now he's in a female-dominated profession. And I think he was trying to make a joke with another male student about kind of like a sexist joke, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
So he wrote that down. So I think he kind of just had a vindictive calling to try to shoot women, to be honest. I don't think it was just like a coincidence. I don't know. There might have been some male professors there, but I'm not sure.
So the professor situation, the one that I kind of spoke a little bit about, I kind of want to read this here so that it's clear, because this is a really important part when I was reading it. So it says, starting my second semester at the College of Nursing, events started to unravel. One class I had the instructor would ask a question, I would raise my hand to answer and would be ignored, and the instructor would then change the subject. After 2 or more subject changes and my hand being up for 10 minutes, she would ask, "Did you have a question, Bob?" So he's like already pissed here, right?
Yeah. I was sitting in the front row.
Yeah, he says, "I was sitting in the front row. This happened several times and I broke the unwritten rule. I stood up for myself."
Oh my gosh.
When she finally called upon me, I stated that I would appreciate her calling upon me before she changed the subject, as I felt I could add something to the class. After that, she would just refuse to call upon me. After several days of this, I quietly got up in the middle of the class and went to the dean's office. So he reported this professor. She was not in, but the assistant dean of student services was, and that's Pamela Reed. That was her name. He said that he explained the problems, and she started off by saying that I must be mistaken and that my perceptions were wrong. So like all of this time, he's like one of those people that has to prove, he has something to prove. I feel like in his mind, right? Like his address, for example, in the manifesto at the very beginning is like legitimate in like that it follows all the like, what do you call those? You know, like the rules of writing. The rules of writing.
The rules of writing.
It follows all the rules of writing, like comma here, and you have to put, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So like he has something to prove. He wants people to know that he's not a fool. So like right now he's reporting this professor and to the assistant dean of student services, and they're not taking him seriously. Okay, so this to me is so important. So then this is the common reply when a student has a problem with the college. This is what he's writing. It is always your perception of the event rather than the actual perception of the event that is flawed. So he's feeling like they're thinking that he's a liar. So he says, "Miss Reed kept on trying to get me to go back to the instructor, but I said that if the instructor," I'm sorry, I'm switching pages, "felt secure enough in her position to treat me in that manner in front of my peers, then I felt that I could not get a constructive communication with her. It wasn't until I insisted in putting something in writing that Miss Reed states that she would speak to the department head."
Yeah, and then it's like she comes back though and says, "Nope, we gotta talk." So the teacher was, respecting him after that for a bit, but then Miss Reed is waiting for him outside the class, and she was like, "We need to talk." So.
And it's funny because when I'm reading this, I feel like they're out to get him.
Yeah.
And then I'm like thinking like, wait. This guy shot up this place.
Yeah.
Like, how am I on his side right now? But like, I was on his side. I was like, why are they messing with him? Because then they come back and they have like, so they have to have the meeting, and he like has to work, right?
Yep.
He has to work, so he can't make the meetings. And then that's like a penalty on him, and then he has all these different consequences that happen, and like he's just feeling like they're like on him. And this is where they have, who was it that wrote, like it's an anonymous, like 3 anonymous letters or something about his conduct in class.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, it's in here. So like,
what?
Yeah, there's like the.
Did I miss that? My goodness.
Okay, so it says right here. I'm going to read this part because it's really important. "A week passes and the instructor is now calling upon me in the class again. As I exited another class later in the day, Miss Reed is waiting for me outside the class. She states, 'We have to talk.'" So this is when she wants to talk. She gives me the student code of.
To her room.
Yeah, so she goes. Yeah, I was just kind of
summarizing.
Sorry. So they go to the room, and she has him. Like, she says, "You need to read this," which is the student code of conduct. And he's like, "No, I don't need to read this. I know all about the student code of conduct." And she's like, "I want you to read this again." Because he's like, "No, I've already read it." And she's like, "I want you to read it again." I stated that it was not necessary, and asked her what she wanted to talk about. She then pointed to a catch-all part of the document.
What does that mean?
To the catch-all is like the, like...
a term or category that includes a variety of different possibilities.
Yeah, so like, what are the consequences?
Okay.
So he was familiar with it, he says.
Okay.
So then she states that the questions that I have been asking in class were inappropriate because somebody complained that he was asking inappropriate questions in class.
Like what? Can I go pee, or like can I go pee in the corner?
I mean, he's a nursing student. He's a nurse.
Like, what kind of inappropriate questions can you be asking?
Ask if he has to pee.
Like, I was just doing PG, all right? Like, I don't want to be like a rated R joke or anything.
I think that maybe he was saying something like medical. Like, would it be important? Would it be if somebody has an overdose? What is the point of resuscitation or something like that? You know, maybe something that could be. I don't know.
You know, like
the thing is, those type of questions come up.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that if you're not prepared as a medical professional that's teaching other medical professionals, and you're going to have to put them in the world where things are not great,
mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of ethical issues, you better be prepared to talk about it.
Yeah.
So
I thought that was interesting, why they would deem it inappropriate.
Yeah.
Because most questions are, you know, a question is a question.
Right.
And someone else might be thinking the same thing.
Yeah, so it says, she then states that the questions that I had been asking were inappropriate and could be construed. I know you're about to tell me, as interfering with the conduct of the class. I then stated that I asked questions pertaining to the subject being covered that week and that they were based upon experience and practical application. So in his mind, they're out to get him, right? And
yeah.
I feel I'm like behind him.
Yeah.
In this, like, I really believe that they are out to get him. At least this is what he's portraying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? I don't know. So this stuff like this happens multiple times. Like I said, this is a 20.
Look at what Miss Reed said. Oh, I think you know what questions are inappropriate.
Yeah.
I want to know.
I know. I wish that he would have mentioned it, but I mean, it is 22 pages, and he probably didn't want to waste, a lot of time and stuff to get stuff. But so anyway. He goes about.
Oh, there's the part where he talks to his student, Mike.
Yeah.
What does he say? This is where he was like joking about women.
Go ahead.
He
Yeah.
says a few times during the breaks, I managed to talk to him privately and asked him if he had any problems. You have a problem, man? Oh my gosh, what does that mean? He stated that he kept his mouth shut even if he had questions because he felt that it would ensure his chances. That it would ensure his chances of graduation.
So he said that this is what the guy said, his friend.
I asked him if it didn't bother him when female students started to put men down in general in front of them. He stated that yes, it did bother him, but he kept his mouth shut so that he would not be labeled.
I don't know if I believe that.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that either. I think he's just
trying to get the audience to believe him.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because when he says this, which is right after the scenario, at first I'm like, yes, how dare they? And then all of a sudden I read this and I'm like, was that all bull?
Yeah, because now he's trying to get people on his side.
Yeah.
Like, for sure.
Yeah.
So moving on. All right.
So he talked a little bit about how, like, in the school you have to do rotations for, like, different like units and stuff. So like he was in the ICU unit, and he had like some type of situation where he was like, I got this, and the person's like, no, you don't, and he's like, yeah, and he's like, well, I'm an LPN, so he thought he had it. So he has like this like righteousness. We've already kind of talked about it a little bit. So again, he gets reprimanded for talking to a professor in a way that's not appropriate.
Yeah.
So these type of things, like he has like little situations where like people are like not, I wouldn't say like attacking his manhood, but attacking his manhood in his eyes.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
or maybe his pride, or
his pride also, yeah. But it's always women. So like when he got reprimanded, it was Miss Rogers.
Yeah.
Right. The assistant dean is also a woman, and like you pointed out, all those victims were women.
Yep.
As well. None of them were students. All of them were professors.
Yeah.
Except for himself, right? He killed himself as well.
Yeah. I was gonna joke, but no. I decided not to joke.
Do it.
I was just gonna say maybe he was a woman too. I don't know.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. What else? What else do we got here? We're
So
almost
another thing
done. We're a third of the way done.
Yeah, so
Oh,
I think that, yeah, way more than that. So another thing
Yeah,
that pissed him off was that when he got reprimanded for that thing in the ICU, that was during his clinicals. And the way that it works is that when you have a clinical, you either pass or you fail. So he failed it because of the inappropriate behavior. And then the way that it works at the U of A is that you have the classes are by year. So if you fail, you have to wait until the next year. So he had to like extend his student loans and take the full amount out because he had to like survive until he had to take it again. And he took the class again and passed. But like he was pissed off about it, you know?
He says, because of this, wait, go back up. Because of this, I fell behind my child support payments. I became in arrears.
I don't know what that word means.
Me either. I'm gonna look it up. If you are in arrears in the state of Arizona, you cannot get a RN license or renew a current LPN or RN license.
I think that's in like debt or something, like a certain amount of debt, like a type of debt. So he's pissed off he has to retake the class.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah, and then now he's like in debt and even more debt than before. And he's like in his mind, he's like, as soon as I get the RN license, everything is gonna be fine. So all of these things are affecting his ability to do that. And he's becoming more and more and more pissed.
He's becoming more and more dependent on getting that degree.
Yeah, and then you also I feel like he's also like feels like more pissed as he's writing.
I just feel like, where did he get this from? Like, why did he think life was going to be better just when he like reached that? You know what I mean?
I think that's the only thing that he knew.
Like
I think that somebody along the line said, you know, if you don't get a degree and you don't do that, then you're not a man and you're not going to be able to support your family.
Ugh.
And he just like took that to heart. And there's a lot of people.
But now he's divorced, though. You know what I mean?
I know. But that's one of the things that really like affected his mental state.
Let's see, what else? Man, he talks so much more about like what other stuff he had to go through. Now he's talking about Barbara Monroe. He killed her.
Yeah, that's that's the second person that he killed. Yeah. So actually, we didn't say that when he killed the first person, he said, I'm going to give you a lesson of spirituality.
And she said yes. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
She said yes.
Wow. Okay.
I was like, what?
And then when he shot the next person, which I think is Monroe, he was like,
oh no, sorry. She said yes to this one. My bad.
You are going to meet your maker.
Yeah, she said yes to that. So not like, the first one.
Wow, that's just like so messed up. I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe she was messed up too.
Maybe she was.
Oh, so I have 4 sources. I don't know. Just from one of these. The police said that he had made bomb threats to school in the past.
Oh, that's interesting.
And like, how is he still a student though? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like,
yeah. I mean, but the thing is, like, he was like a fault person. Like everything is everybody else's fault. Nothing is really his fault. This happened in 2002.
This happened quite a bit ago.
Yeah, it happened in 2002. I actually remember when this happened. But it's a really interesting one because we have this 22-page manifesto that, where we get a chance to kind of dive into like this guy's like mentality. So this is why we chose this one. And it's also within our community.
So yeah, he starts talking about Miss Monroe, which is the second professor he shot. And he was doing, he was administering medication to a patient, and I guess he did it incorrectly.
Well, it looks like he did it correctly, but he didn't put the calculations for the normal dose.
Yeah.
That's like standard across the board, though. You always have to put the standard dose, and then you have to put whatever like changes that you do. So.
Oh, okay. So he just didn't document everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And documentation is so important in the medical field.
Yeah, you really gotta document everything for that.
Yeah, if you didn't document, it didn't happen. So
Exactly.
so he did do he didn't make an actual mistake, like he was accused of doing, which also pissed him off, that he was accused of making a mistake, and for that he didn't pass the class,
Yeah.
which was really upsetting to him.
Mm-hmm. He said Miss Monroe covered herself by stating in syllabus that all students are to be asleep by midnight the night prior, or they will be a safety hazard. So that's probably like what she blamed on him. What he had to do something the night before, didn't he?
Yeah, he had to write. It says here that Miss Monroe had students arrive at Northwest Hospital on a Monday afternoon after lectures to pick up patients, and he would be the student. It would be the student's responsibility to write a care plan to the cellular level prior to 6:45 in the morning the next morning.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying that that's going to be impossible because the students had to be, they had to be well rested and blah blah blah. But
were all three professors killed? Oh, sorry. Were all three professors he killed his professors? Yes.
No.
Yeah. They were.
So he gets reprimanded multiple times. He makes these mistakes that he thinks are not his actual mistakes. Like he thinks that he's wrongfully accused. But the thing is, like, their procedures are set in place for a certain reason.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're in a school, so you want to just follow the rules and try to do the best you can.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to abide by the rules whether you like them or not.
Which is something I would think he would be. Uh-oh.
I gotta take that later.
Oh yeah, you do.
Okay. Okay.
So dang it, I lost my train of thought. Shoot, no. Okay, so I was gonna say you would think he would be used to this because he was in the army. In the army,
Right.
they like make you do things like don't think about it, just do it.
He seemed to excel in the army.
Yeah.
So I wonder what was different, men.
Maybe.
It was not a woman-dominated area.
Yeah.
Also, there's a lot of physical activity. Yeah, I'm gonna.
Excuse us for just a second. Oh, the puppies.
We got
puppies going off over there. So I'll just keep talking. So it's very interesting because he failed the clinical portion of the ICU rotation. And he was very clear in why he thought that he failed, and he named 5 reasons.
Yes.
Summing them up pretty quick, he administered a medication with the preceptor outside the room, which
he had said that the person was at the door, not outside the room. So he thought that was the reason.
Yeah.
Or that was just like petty.
Not having the information ready on my patient. So he had a problem downloading a document. He said he's not like
computer savvy,
but he wasn't like stupid at computers. So
yeah, illiterate.
Illiterate, yeah. I couldn't think of the words.
I know.
Number 3 was I was totally lost on heparin administration. I don't know what
her words. Heparin is a anticoagulant, so it's like a blood thinner.
Oh.
Yeah.
Her words. Number 4, not calling in when I missed the non-required meeting.
Oh yeah, so he missed a meeting and he was like really pissed off about it, reprimanded again.
Yeah, this was the safety issue one that Monroe had stated earlier, I believe.
Yeah.
Then number 5, not knowing his patients. I attempted to say that she had warned me twice about being sleepy during clinicals, so I had saved some time by printing out the information. Miss Monroe stated that she didn't want to hear it.
Yeah, because I think he's supposed to write down the material of people instead, like their certain things instead of printing out like their information.
Yeah. So he had explained it to her that if she failed him, he would be kicked out of the College of Nursing, would not be allowed back in.
And look at this is what she replied. Ready? I don't care, or it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
That's what she said. It doesn't matter.
Do you really think like these people were that rude?
I mean, I have to tell you because when I was in college, this is just a quick side
People
note.
are kind of cold in college.
Yeah, when I was in college, I took a physics class,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like having a hard time. So I went to the professor's office hours, and he was like, "What the heck?" I was like, "I'm having trouble with this part here. I don't understand." And he said, "Maybe this is not for you then."
Oh my god!
That's what he told me, and I was like, "No." And I walked out of the room and I cried in the hallway because I was like, "What the heck?"
Yep.
Because I knew it was for me. I just knew that I needed more time or needed I missed a piece of understanding. But
oh my gosh, look at this. After that, well, he said the worst insult arrived when she stated that I was unsafe. That was the biggest insult.
mm-hmm.
That's so interesting because he did so much violence after that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try and wrap it up just a little bit. Let's see what else we got that we can push in here. Got anything?
I want to see I want to maybe read the last paragraph once we cover a couple of other things.
Oh, he actually posted something trying to make him look like a good Samaritan. So he was, I don't know what an IGA store is, but he was at that here in Speedway in Swan. And he said, as I pulled into the parking lot, I saw a young man who had just burst out of the exit of the store, trying to subdue another man who had a silver claw hammer in his hand and was hitting him. I didn't think I reacted. Oh, that's how he thinks. Or that's how his actions are. I helped the young man pull the man with the hammer to the ground and wait for the police. For my trouble, I received a tip, a rip in my good pair of slacks that I had.
In his only good pair of slacks.
Good pair of slacks. The man was a shoplifter who had assaulted the store security guard. I don't know why he put that in there. I think just because he wanted to make people realize that he actually wants to help humankind when he sees a bad scenario. So maybe that's what it is. He was like, I'm relieving these professors out of this college for future students because I was treated bad.
Maybe.
That's probably why he inserted that in there.
Yeah, because he's making it seem as if he's saving them.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
It's just so twisted that it's kind of hard to wrap your head around. Is there anything else to add, do you think?
Just trying to go to the last, just the last paragraph's kind of sad, so I guess I'll just go ahead and state that real quick and then we'll say bye to you guys.
Okay.
Do I have regrets? I regret that my ex-wife has estranged my children from me. She has moved them 19 times in 6 years. I don't really believe that, but yeah, that's kind of a lot. I regret leaving my dog, Bridget. She has been the only thing that has ever given me unconditional love. I regret that there is such people in the world that push a person to contemplate and carry out such an act.
See, that pisses me off. He's saying it's their fault, but okay.
I regret leaving those people behind who trusted me and will feel betrayed by this act. As the curtain closes, I will exit the stage for a well-deserved rest.
All right, so that's the guy. That's the look into his mind.
So that was Robert Flores Jr. He was the
our live ended because of an hour.
Oh shoot.
It's okay. It's our IG live. We still have all these guys, so.
He was the U of A school shooter back in 2002, and we hope you liked our little discussion about him. And
let us know what you'd like to.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do a little bit more manifesto ones. They're really interesting, and it kind of gives me some insight of how people think and kind of connect the dots of why they do this.
I like to understand why people do the things that they do, for sure.
So yeah, we'll see you next time, and have a good week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And stream.
As well, so guys, we're live on Twitch. We're live on iTunes.
Way over there.
YouTube. Wait.
It worked?
Yeah, here.
Girl.